AMD stock is destroying the market. It's up roughly 44% year to date. And from its overall low, which happened in April, so just a few months ago, the stock has more than doubled, up 122%. Now, luckily, in this channel, we've talked about AMD during these lows, and I am very bullish in the semiconductor space. Now, I don't believe the question is it too late to buy AMD? And the reason being is AMD with a market cap of $280 billion, with everything we're hearing about the AI market and the AI trajectory, I still believe this is a multiple bagger from here. I believe this is easily a $500 billion plus business within the next few years, even higher than that. I think the real question that investors should ask if they want to buy AMD right now is, can I withstand the strings attached that come with buying AMD at these levels? And I think, if I might be honest, not most investors can handle the volatility that comes from the semiconductor and AI space. So in today's episode, I want to cover all that, maybe some of the reasons the stock price saw some strong excitement today and why we see kind of the stock up roughly 4%. Let me just say, if you've been following this channel, the news that came out today, you would have heard a long time ago. So let's take a closer look in today's episode.
I want to thank The Motley Fool for sponsoring this video, and check out fool.com/Jose for the 10 best stocks to buy now. With that link, you get a promotional offer for the subscription service. Now, let's continue with today's episode.
All right, so first, let's start off with this massive news that everybody is discussing on the web. So today, AMD reportedly searches on huge instinct MI350 AI price increases. So for those that are not familiar, the MI350 is the next AI chip that AMD is building. It's actually coming out. It's already in production right now. And it's the one that we're seeing a lot of traction from some big AI companies. So we're going to look at some of those AI companies in a bit. Now, the big reason here is AMD's reportedly increasing their price of this chip by an extra $10,000. Originally, some of the other chips were around $15,000. This is about $25,000, depending on some of the reports that you're reading. And that is, if you're increasing the price, it means a few things. First, you're seeing plenty of demand, so now the pricing power is on your side. The second thing, it means you feel very competitive against some of the other players. So regardless of how you see it, if those numbers are true or false, it kind of gives you that bullish sentiment about AMD and the MI350. But what if I was to tell you this is actually old news? If you've been following this channel, we've actually talked about this in early July. We can see here on HSBC upgraded AMD to a buy amid optimism for AI chip dominance. And this came out on Friday of July 11th. I think we actually talked about it a little bit earlier. But the main reason for this HBC upgrade was the average selling price of the MI355 could reach $25,000 per unit, a notable increase from the previous forecast of $15,000. Now, this was another analyst that did it, but the overall trend is the same. And again, this is why if you follow this channel, you're going to get the best semiconductor and AI news at a timely matter, not when the stock is up nearly 40% and nearly over doubled from its overall lows. And if you are enjoying the episode, please make sure to hit the thumbs up and the subscribe button. I'm trying to hit 75,000 by the end of the year. We're almost at 72. I would truly appreciate it. If you want semiconductor news, check out whatthechiphappened.com. That is my free daily semiconductor newsletter. I also have some great promotional offers down below. Now, let me just say, the semiconductor AI space, especially with the AI chip market, is very weird with pricing. Pricing is usually only good when you sell only a few chips, but when you're selling lots and lots of chips, that can obviously handle pricing a little bit different. You might get a special offer if you buy thousands and thousands of MI350s and so on. So I don't think you should take to this price and just go multiply it by how many chips you think they're going to make, because depending on who's the customer, they still have a pricing power advantage where they're able to say, if you want me to buy this many AI chips from you, I'm going to need a heavy discount, some form of discount. So now at the beginning of this episode, I mentioned that I believe AMD is still a multi-bagger opportunity, right? Market cap of $280 billion. I believe this is at least a $500 billion opportunity, even more than that throughout the upcoming years. And the reason is pretty simple. If we kind of look at this slideshow right here, capital expenditure by big companies till calendar year of 2028 is expected to be $1 trillion. This is led by your companies like Amazon, like Microsoft, like Google, like Meta, like Tesla, like Apple, like Stargate, like OpenAI, like like xAI and sovereign AI companies and countries all over the world. If AMD is able to get just a small pie of this capital expenditure, it is a huge revenue growth opportunity for AMD. And that alone could be a reason for this to be a multi-bagger. We also saw in their most recent AI events that 7 of the 10 largest AI companies are using AMD instincts. Companies like Microsoft, like Meta, like OpenAI, like Tesla, like xAI, like Oracle. Those 6 names right there already spent billions of dollars. And just any increase in orders there could be a dramatic boost in revenue. The other thing is AMD does seem to have some competitive products, right? The MI350, I would say, you guys know me as an NVIDIA shareholder, biggest position in my portfolio. I think the MI350 is great. It's not comparable to the Blackwell platform because you don't have the connectivity of scaling out and using kind of this massive, massive structure, right? You can scale it out, but not to the way kind of NVIDIA products. Now, the one I'm super excited about is the MI400. And I'm a little bit worried right now that many people are just kind of really bullish on the MI350 and kind of creating these uncertainties. But regardless, long-term tailwind. Let's not talk about the short term right now. We'll talk about the short term in a bit. I think long-term tailwind, there's a lot of opportunities here as this company continues to innovate and has this annual roadmap. In forms of becoming no longer just a chip company, in forms of semiconductor and AI, you no longer can be a chip company. You need to be a whole system company. And Helios 2026, which is with the MI400, that is supposed to be the first time AMD has this true rack scale solution. The 2025 looks like a true rack solution, but it's not. The way you want to kind of connect these types of data centers together, Helios and the 2026 one with the MI400, that's where it's at, not the 2025 MI350. Now, they continue to kind of produce this with the MI400, with the Verano CPU and the next gen AI rack. So again, long-term tailwinds. There's a lot of AI infrastructure and a lot of innovation that AMD is doing that can definitely make this a multi-bagger. Now, I also want to kind of take a closer look at some of the recent bullish runs for the company. So like I mentioned today, we did have a price target increase from UBS to $210. That was a 40% increase from their previous price target. They maintained a buy rating. They cited improved sentiments and expect outperformance in both PC and server segments. One of the main things that they did talk about there as well was the increase in price. And that's what everybody's getting so excited. We see some other kind of price targets throughout the past 20, 30 days. July 21st, we see Bernstein increase it to 140, up 47%. Price target raised from 95%. One of the other things is we are kind of getting that excitement. We can see Mizuho on July 15th increased the price target by 15% to $175 because of export restrictions kind of being eliminated for certain types of AI chips, which open up a new opportunity for AMD. And then Wells Fargo, again, we can see another price target up 54% to $185 as they expect strong data center growth driven by the MI355 chip ramp and server CPU market gain. Now, like I mentioned, HSBC, which was on July 10th, they were the original ones to increase the price target to $200. One of the main reasons is they expect fiscal year of 2026 AI chips to be roughly $15.1 billion. And that's driven by the advanced pricing of the MI350, which we kind of talked about. So we are seeing kind of this bullish sentiment. Now, like I talked about it, there a lot of recent news have come out for AMD in general. We see that AI chip pricing power, we talked about it from 15,000, now it's expected to be around 25,000. That definitely increases margins. Like we talked about, the China export ban lifted. This opens up an estimated total addressable market of $50 billion or plus. AMD is only a small player in that $50 billion market opportunity, but even an extra billion or two per quarter or per year can definitely help beat expectations and make some money. Now, for quarter two, which is expected to be reported next week, we have analysts are very optimistic. Revenue growth of $7.4 billion, up 35% year over year. Earnings per share consensus of 49 cents, and data center growth with strong momentum is expected to be around 57% year over year. We also have a lot of new products, like we talked about their GPU, the MI355, which launched in June. They also have new solutions in the CPU space. And then the data center market just continues to grow as we see all these great excitements from all these companies increasing their capital expenditure. So there's a lot of bullish momentum. And this is the bullish momentum that I want to talk about, kind of why I believe this is a multi-bagger. Now, I think the real question is kind of talking about the strings attached with the current valuation. As we're going to see, let me just pull up my slideshow one more time. As we're going to see right now, forward price to earnings for AMD is sitting at 41.68. This is a lot more expensive compared to its median. And I enjoy using the median because the median kind of takes a lot of the outliers away. And I think it's a better representation than the average. The median is 34.68. The min has been about 17.68, which 17.9. We actually kind of got to those levels here in those April, and perfect time for us to be talking bullish about this company. Now, as a semiconductor investor, where I want my money to both become a multi-bagger, but also have some form of safety net, I tend to buy below the median and as close as I can to maybe average min. Now that it's a little bit higher, now you're starting to see that the stock is priced to perfection, at least in the current numbers, price to perfection. So when it starts to see kind of an increase of that forward price to earnings to be higher than the median, is when this company, if there is any slip up, it could create a compression of stock price. And that compression would be something that hits the short term of things. Like I mentioned, the growth opportunities here, in my opinion, are massive, and this is definitely a multi-bagger. But most investors, if you see your stock drop 15, 20%, unfortunately, most retail investors have weak hands because they don't know exactly the bullish sentiments for these stocks. They heard maybe some YouTuber, or they heard maybe some analyst or some fin Twitter talk about AMD, and they say, look, I want to buy this because it's the next multi-bagger. But multi-baggers come with risk, and especially when valuations are at a premium. This drops about 15, 20, even 30%. I don't think it's impossible. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it's not impossible. If that happens, to me, I don't care, right? I believe the long-term thesis. And if we kind of get below that median and maybe even closer to the min, I take that as a growing opportunity of adding more to the position. But most retail investors kind of follow the market. And if it starts to go down, it's like, look, AMD is actually a loser and we're going to sell off. This is actually what we saw here in 2024, just about a year ago, when everybody already thought that AMD was the next NVIDIA. Stock prices grew to $200. And then they saw, you know what, maybe it's not the next NVIDIA. And it cut in half in less than a year. So I think that is the biggest string attached for AMD investors is, can you withstand the volatility, especially as valuation has stretched out? I don't believe this is going to be a multi-bagger in the stretch, in a straight line. I believe the market gives opportunities various amount of times. And these are some of the opportunities that can happen. First, with high multiples, could compress quickly if the MI350 volumes this quarter don't give us great guidance, or they disappoint. If they say, look, the MI350 is ramping up, we've only done a few low billion of dollars in sales this quarter, and don't expect maybe too much until maybe next year, that completely destroys short-term bullish thesis, and the stock market can compress dramatically on this stock. The second thing is capacity and yields, right? This is one of the first times AMD is going to work at this type of capacity and volume. Any supply chain issues with their memory companies, with their server companies, with their customers, with TSMC, with advanced packaging capacity, any slip up there can create negative pressure for the stock in the short term. Then you also have the competitive counter moves of NVIDIA with their next generation, the Blackwell Ultra, the Vera Rubin Ultra. And NVIDIA is definitely the king. Any sentiment that NVIDIA is not letting go of any market share could create compression. And finally, like I mentioned, the sky high expectation. The market may be expecting perfection from AMD too quickly. There's immense pressure on AMD to deliver flawless earnings and for Lisa Su to provide exceptional strong guidance for the MI300, the MI350, the MI355, and beyond. It's crucial to remember, though, that new products like the MI350, like the MI400, when it comes out next year, take time to ramp to full volume. And I hope the market is patient. If it is patient, and if you're able to withstand the volatility, this is one that can definitely be a multi-bagger. Now, for me, what am I doing? For me, I have a decent position size on AMD. I am glad we purchased in the lows. I am glad we purchased way beyond before then. This is a stock we've been holding for a long, long time. And AMD has already been a multi-bagger in my portfolio. At these moments, I focus on the semiconductor space. I have seen this market give me opportunities time and time again. And I don't see why this will be any different. For now, if I was to be buying AMD, it would be small dollar cost averaging opportunities and waiting for that true opportunity when stock prices could drop down dramatically. Now, again, I do have a big position on AMD, so that creates me for doing small dollar cost average. If I was to buy a big bulk right now, I would go with the mindset that, look, I could be wrong in the short term of things. In the short term of things, stock prices can be very, very volatile, especially after such a massive run up in just the past month or so. But in the long term, if I understand that bullish thesis, I just have to make sure not to be weak-handed and not to kind of sell off at a loss. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. Take care, have a good day, and see you all next time.